Hey everybody, it's Charles from HumbleMechanic.com. Today, I'm taking your questions on electric cars, Jeeps versus Touaregs, diesels, and more. This is episode 200 of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. All right, in order to get a question on a show like this, use this email, charles@humblemechanic.com. Put question for Charles in the subject, ask your question, smash the enter button and give me some space, then give me the details. And if you don't see your question on a show like this, check out the quick videos playlist on YouTube where I do one question per video. All right, let's talk about the sponsor of the day, which is CRP Automotive. CRP deals in a ton of OE maintenance and repair parts, timing belt kits, suspension components, and even fluids. In fact, they make the factory DSG fluid for Volkswagen and Audi. So check them out at crpautomotive.com. And hey, remember, if you want exclusive content discounts you can't get anywhere else to places like Eastwood, Black Forest, Eurowise, MT Knives, Sonic Tools, and more, check out the Crew Membership Program. It is a great way to help support the show, as well as get a bunch of money off of stuff you guys are all probably buying anyway. There is a link down in the description, so you can check that out. Let's get into your questions. First one comes from Paul. Hey, Charles, do you think with the new advance in technologies in electric cars would possibly put mechanics out of a job with internal combustion engines possibly coming to an end in the future? So this is normally a kind of dark, deep, cryptic type question, but it's actually pretty fascinating if we go way, way deep. And oddly enough, I had this conversation like 3 times this week, so I figured it's a perfect question for the show. What is going to happen to auto mechanics when all of the cars are electric and buzzing around the highways, and they're probably autonomous at this point too, or some version of that anyway? Well, it's going to be a shift. Right? If we start pulling massive amounts of internal combustion engine cars off the street, there is going to be a shift. Think of all the maintenance that we do on a vehicle and how much of it really does revolve around the engine and transmission. Now, electric cars are still going to have transmissions, but they're going to probably be a little bit different and may not require quite the amount of servicing. Also, things like regenerative brakes are going to make our brakes last longer because we're using the electric system to slow the car down. So there is going to be a massive shift as electric cars become much, much more prevalent. The good thing is for good technicians, these cars are still going to break and they're still going to need repair and maintenance. So you are going to see this shift of the really good technicians are going to creep up and up and up and continue their climb and still be really good and relevant. And those technicians in the middle, like B technician down, are going to get shoved down to the bottom. I see this more of a shop, let's say a dealership, let's say a Volkswagen dealership, having maybe 2 guys, 3 guys that are really like legit razor sharp, and they're going to be the ones doing the diagnostic. They're going to be the ones doing all the programming and codings and things like that done in the store. And then you're going to have, for lack of a better word, your lackeys, your guys that will simply just bolt the part on or rotate the tires or things like that. So you're going to see this break, and the guys that are really good go up, and everybody else that's in that middle down are going to go down, and they're not going to need quite as many of them. I mean, think about a maintenance schedule on a car. Everything revolves around engine air filter, oil change, tire rotation, brake fluids. Some of these are still going to be there, transmission fluid service. They're going to be there, but it's going to be different. What I hope this leads to is a shift in the way that companies and brands and dealerships behave with their technicians. Instead of treating them like flat rate workers and fill in your own probably really negative opinion about what they're actually called, and you're going to have more of someone hopefully part of the team. Also, I mentioned things like coding and updates. A lot of this stuff's probably going to start happening over the air. Instead of you having to bring your car into the dealership, when you connect to the Wi-Fi at home, it can automatically download an update. So this is such a deep topic question that I think I'll probably do a separate thing on, because I want to go a lot deeper in it and not eat up 20 minutes of a 19-minute show. But this is one that I'm really interested in your thoughts. What do you guys think? How do you think this is going to impact what we do day to day? And let's say, really, the next 5 to 10 years, that's when we're going to see this massive, massive shift. Don't worry, internal combustion engines aren't going away tomorrow. They're not going to just take them all off the highway, but as new cars come out and these older ones start to, attrition away, the shift is coming, and we probably want to start thinking about things that us as technicians can do to make sure that we're not left below and cram down into that bottom category of technicians and just doing things like rotating tires and sweeping the floor. All right, next one comes from John. It says, hey, I'm trying to decide on my next vehicle. I've narrowed down my wish list to a Touareg or a Jeep Wrangler 4-door. I know not even in the same stratosphere, both cool, fun options in their own way. But apart from that, I keep hearing horror stories of repair and maintenance costs on Touareg. When I came across your top 5 plus failures of the Touareg, very, very well done, by the way. I get that there's been issues, but I'm looking for a 12 to 13-ish used Touareg that's had all the scheduled maintenance and recalls done. Sounds like it should be a pretty dependable vehicle. Any vehicle costs money if it breaks, but is it really much more to maintain a Touareg? I've spent over $2,000 in maintenance and repairs for my 06 Element over the past year. Wait a minute, Hondas don't break or cost money to fix. What would Wise Humble Mechanic have to say? So you're right, man. This is like totally different worlds. But have you guys seen how much Jeep Wranglers are? It's mind-boggling to me for such a, we'll call it primitive vehicle, to cost so much. Now, if you're going off-road and you're gonna jack this thing up to the sky and beat the hell of it off on the trail, okay, that's a different use. But if you are going to simply drive this car to work, take the kids to soccer practice, go to the grocery store, take the wife out on a date, dude, the Touareg is a far superior car in every single possible, imaginable way. I have driven this generation Touareg from here up to Baltimore, down to Atlanta, to Charlotte, all over kind of the mid-east, southeast area, and it's a wonderful vehicle to drive. I drove a Jeep to the local Whole Foods to go to lunch, and it was miserable, especially if you get a manual transmission. Now, for those of you that are Jeep fans and love your vehicle, I'm not hating on you for it. It's your own thing. I'm just telling you my experience as far as vehicle and the way it drives. The Jeep is not the best riding vehicle. It's not the best driving vehicle. It's weird to me that they are so expensive. That's not why most people buy their Jeeps. They buy it because, top back or top down, doors off, that kind of fun. And I get it. My first car was a Jeep. So right here, there's a little place right here in my heart that will always exist for the Jeep. But if you are buying a commuter car, dude, the Touareg, far and away, not even in the same stratosphere as you said, is a better car. Now, on the parts failures and expensive, yes, Touaregs are going to be expensive to maintain. Even if you buy a used one for 20 grand, you're still maintaining a $45,000, $55,000, $60,000 truck. Keep that in mind when you go to get a full brake job done on the front and it's $1,500. You're not maintaining a $20,000 car, you're maintaining a $60,000 car. It's kind of the negative of buying an older, used, we'll call it higher end or luxury or German for that matter car. But that vintage of 12 forward has been fantastic. Other than the diesels having some AdBlue heater issues, there isn't really any oh my God, this Touareg's gonna definitely have this problem. There are gonna be failures out there, and I'm sure you guys out in the global scope of the world, as far as parts failures and Touareg problems, probably have seen a handful of things, maybe even some common ones, but nothing compared to the other cars in the brand, and not even in the same galaxy as the first generation Touareg. That was the Touareg that earned the reputation of this thing is a pile of junk. Volkswagen really should have changed the name from Touareg to something totally different when they went to the Touareg 2, or at least maybe even this full redesign. I think it would have been really good for the brand, and they probably would have sold a lot more of them. So man, if you're gonna do a lot of off-roading and you want that kind of fun, buy the Jeep. If you want a commuter car, the Touareg's better. You'll probably end up buying them for about the same anyway, which is just mind-boggling to me to think a Jeep and a Touareg cost the same thing. So I love that vintage of Touareg. I think it's one of the best cars Volkswagen's put out in a lot of years, and definitely made up for the badness of the 405. That being said, I love the 0405. It has a place in my heart as well because it's what I learned how to fix Volkswagens on. And boy, those broke a lot, so I made a lot of money back then. So great question, man. Good luck, and hey, let us know what you decided. All right, next one is from Steve. Hey, Charles, I got an 14 TDI Beetle. Any clue on when they're going to have a resolution on the repair? Can you please share your insights on what kind of hardware mods changes might be made? Okay, first of all, so the date today is sometime in July 22nd, I think, maybe 21st, depending on when you're watching this. It's mid-July 2017. As of today, right now, we don't know. There's been no information about the first generation TDI repair. All the rumors that you could possibly imagine are out there. Everything from they're going to modify these cars and ship them to China or Mexico, to every single one of them is going to get crushed, to you'll only be able to own it in certain states, to they're going to give you $1 million and you keep your car. That last one I just made up. I don't think anybody's spreading that rumor. What does that mean for us? It means we don't know. We don't know what kind of hardware changes are going to happen. I've heard a lot of chatter about adding urea injection, and that may or may not happen. From everything I've sort of pieced together, it's probably not going to be as big of a deal as everybody's making it out to be as far as adding parts to the car or changing parts on the car. It sort of seems like this Gen 3 TDI, the newest one, the 2015 model year cars, are going to have the biggest repair on them. And a lot of that's due to emission standards and things like that. What exactly is going to happen, I don't know. It could be something as simple as software, like the 12s software, and they have that little snow screen and possibly an oxygen sensor. But I wouldn't be surprised if those failed just all on their own beside, outside of the TDI thing. So man, I've been answering this question this way since all this broke until I have, like, from VW, from Audi US, rest of world behaves differently. VW Audi US, I'm not going to say this is what they're going to do. Even saying this is what I think they're going to do is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter because I have no clue on what exactly they're going to do. I guess it's going to be hard parts, but I don't know. I almost guarantee you if anything will happen, some type of software modification will happen. So hang tight. I get why a lot of people wanted to keep the car. At this point, I don't even know. It might have been better just to do the buyback and get your money and go buy something else and move away from this disaster. Especially so much unknown. It's not like you can decide after you get the modification. Once you get the modification, that's it. And to me, it's a lot of unknown. I would probably walk away and take my fat happy check in hand and I don't know, maybe buy another one at some point. But at this point on Gen 1, it's still just a wait and see game. Touareg, same thing, still just a wait and see game. Let me tell you how I really want to get my hands on one of those diesel Touaregs. If you missed the last question on how much I like the Touareg, go back and watch it. But I really hope that they come out with something soon. I don't think we're going to see anything right now, but you never know, guys. Tomorrow the email could come out that they're releasing it. Usually the dealerships on these get like a day or two advance notice, and oftentimes the rest of the public knows before the dealership gets official communication. So hang tight, man, or you know what? Trade it in. Either way, I don't blame you. The more time goes on and this drags on, the more I lean towards I probably would have taken the buyback, got my money, and walked away. All right, last one of the day comes from Rob. I have a 12 Jetta Sportwagon 2.5. When should I start looking to replace the clutch on it? In all honesty, I do drive it hard. Good for you, man. That's how they're supposed to be driven. 2, when should I replace my timing chain? This is a daily driver and a family car, so it's important to me to keep our family safe during road trips. Thanks again, Rob. So on the clutch, you didn't say how many miles you had, Rob, but guys, I've seen VWs on original clutch well into the high 100K, okay? My GTI has 138 on it, and I could probably stretch it for another 20,000 miles. Easy. There was a tiny bit of slipping, but I think that was actually hot spotting on the clutch or the flywheel, the friction plate or the pressure plate, there we go, or the flywheel, rather than clutch actually wearing out. Now, depending on how you drive, it may not matter that you drive it hard. That means different things to everybody. I've also seen Volkswagen clutches get burnt out at exactly 90 miles based on driver error. So there's that big of range, of when a clutch could wear out. I would say as that clutch release point starts to get really high, that's when I would start looking at seriously replacing the clutch. These are not cheap jobs, it's not like $100. Transmission comes out, clutch, pressure plate, flywheel, if it needs it, are pretty expensive parts. Usually the flywheel is the most expensive. So you could also look at doing a dual mass or a single mass flywheel conversion. On a family car, I'd keep the dual mass. I think it makes the drive a little bit more enjoyable. So depending on your mileage, you maybe start thinking now or, in 2 years or 5 years. But I always base it on how the car's behaving. How high do I have to let the clutch out before the vehicle starts to move? As it gets higher and higher and higher, I start to think, okay, time's ticking, time's ticking. That being said, if this were my car and not a family car, I'd drive it till the clutch blew up and then just deal with it then. Being a family car, you don't want to be stranded or, have someone else in your family driving it and get stranded. So I would probably err a little earlier than later on this one. The good thing about clutch failures is almost all the time when they fail, the worst thing that you have to do is get it towed and then get a clutch replaced. It almost always costs the same if you do the clutch after catastrophic failure or as sort of a maintenance thing. This is not like a timing belt where it's better to do it 10,000 miles early than 1 mile too late. As far as the timing chains, the newer Gen 2.5, the one with the MAP sensor, not the MAF sensor, were not nearly as bad as the older ones were about chain stretch or guide failure or tensioner failure, things like that. Those are the early ones that were pretty bad. Even those, typically it was the upper chain that had a problem, not the lower chain. You can make a pretty good case that if you're pulling the transmission out to do the chain job, because the lower chain requires transmission removal, that's a lot of extra money and parts that I don't think I would do if I didn't have like a legit reason. The upper chain can be done without removing the transmission, and that one too is pretty good about setting a fault or starting to make noise before it reaches the point of failure where you can't drive the car. Oftentimes the ones we see that can't be driven were owned by people that maybe weren't super tuned into their vehicle. And I feel like people that drive manual transmission cars are a lot more tuned into their car than someone with an automatic. I know that wasn't like at this mileage, do this job, but that doesn't really exist when it comes to talking about clutches or timing chains and things like that. So I'm sorry that I couldn't give you an exact mileage. You need to use the feel of your left foot to determine when the clutch needs to be replaced, or simply wait till it totally fails. There is one little thing with waiting till it totally fails. There's always the possibility that more damage than just the clutch or clutch kit could happen. Keep that in mind. I'd hate to tell you don't worry about it till it fails, and it fails in a really weird way and blows a hole in the transmission. So there's always the possibility of more damage. Most of the time though, it's simply just the clutch fails and you have to have it towed, and that's the extra expense. All right guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Questions, comments, you know what to do. Hey, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe right here on YouTube and over on the blog at humblemechanic.com. If you want exclusive content, discounts you can't get anywhere else but right here, as well as access to the VW Audi training manuals from the classes that I teach, check out the Crew membership program. There's a link down in the description. You could also check out the Patreon if you want to throw me $1 a month. Cool. If not, well, that's cool too. Or you can use the Amazon affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything. Just click that link, buy whatever you're gonna buy on Amazon anyway, and I get a little kickback off of that. All those things piled together really do help me support the show, the work I do, the GTI, getting all that stuff done, and allow me to do this show for you guys. So any support, I always appreciate. Thanks for that. All right, guys. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I love you, and I'll see you next time.